Young woman, left a baby at the CEO's door. The note said, "You promised to protect us, don't break it." The rain fell gently that morning, a soft, persistent drizzle that painted Hazel Hill in muted shades of gray and gold. Autumn had come early this year, and the trees surrounding the estate were already tinged in amber and rust. Lucas Hale stepped out of his black car, briefcase in hand, the hum of jet lag still heavy in his limbs after returning from a 10-day business trip across Europe. He adjusted his collar as he approached the stone steps of his mansion, his thoughts already racing through emails and meetings. The grand entrance loomed ahead, familiar, silent, impersonal, just the way he liked it, until the silence shattered. "Mr. Lucas!" The panicked voice of Martha, his housekeeper of over a decade, rang out from just beyond the threshold. "Sir, there's something at the door." Lucas froze. Martha's face appeared, pale and drawn, eyes wide with disbelief. She pointed toward the front steps. Lucas stepped forward slowly. At first, he thought it was a bundle of linens forgotten by a delivery van. But then he saw the curve of a small foot, the edge of a pink sock. A woven wicker basket sat neatly on the stone, its lid folded back just enough to reveal a sleeping baby girl nestled inside. She looked to be just over a year old. Her cheeks were round, flushed from the chill. Golden curls peeked out from under the knit bonnet covering her head. A pacifier hung loosely from her mouth, rising and falling softly with each breath. Next to her, tucked inside the basket, was a small, worn tote bag, a tin of formula, a half-used pack of wipes, a pink stuffed rabbit with frayed ears, and atop it all, an envelope, sealed. Lucas's chest tightened. He reached for the envelope with deliberate fingers. The handwriting was familiar. "Her name is Ivy. She's yours. You once promised to protect us. Please, don't break it." He read the words twice, then a third time. The paper trembled in his grip. Martha stood behind him, hands covering her mouth. "Sir, is this real?" Lucas did not answer. His eyes were locked on the baby. Her small hand twitched in her sleep, brushing the edge of the blanket. It was the hair, fine, golden blonde, curling slightly at the ends. It tugged something loose inside his chest, something he had buried years ago, a color he had not seen in a long time, a memory that had grown distant, but never quite disappeared. He crouched slowly, eyes never leaving the girl's face. Ivy. The name echoed in his mind like a question he was not ready to answer. She stirred then, just a little, as if sensing his nearness. Her pacifier fell to the side, and for the briefest second, her eyes fluttered open, bright, searching, innocent. Lucas felt his breath catch. That same softness, that same shape of the mouth, the same tiny dimple when she blinked. No, it could not be. But it was. He saw it now. Not just the resemblance, but the impossibility of coincidence. His hand hovered over the edge of the basket. He hesitated, and then gently lifted the sleeping girl into his arms. She was light, warm, real. The note still trembled in his other hand. He looked out beyond the driveway, beyond the iron gate, into the misting rain. But there was no one there. Just the stillness of Hazel Hill and the slow, deliberate beat of the promise he had once made to someone who vanished before he could ever keep it. Lucas sat in his private study, the fire crackling low behind him. Ivy had finally fallen asleep upstairs, wrapped in the lavender-scented blanket he found in the basket. But Lucas had not moved in hours. The note rested on the desk in front of him, its ink now engraved in his memory. "You once promised to protect us. Please, don't break it." The handwriting had not changed, neither had the echo of her voice. Sierra. That name alone stirred something dormant. He closed his eyes. It was over 2 years ago. Colorado. A stormy night in late spring. Lucas had disappeared into the mountains after a fabricated tabloid scandal that painted him as a reckless playboy. The truth had never mattered. The media had eaten him alive. Investors panicked. His board forced him to take a leave of absence. So he ran. And then he crashed, quite literally. Black ice on a remote pass. His car slid, spun, and slammed into a pine just miles from nowhere. When he came to, it was not a paramedic hovering over him, but a young woman with soft blonde hair tied loosely at the back, eyes the color of smoke, and hands that trembled but never faltered. "I'm Sierra," she had said, breathless. "You're lucky I hike this trail every weekend." She dragged him to a nearby ranger cabin, a single room with no Wi-Fi, no electricity, just a wood-burning stove, canned food, and blankets. He should have been panicking. But instead, in that quiet space far from headlines, Lucas found something he had not felt in years. Peace. Sierra was studying nursing, she told him. A summer internship had brought her to the ranger station. She had dreams of joining a humanitarian organization that built clinics in underserved regions. She sketched her ideas in a frayed notebook. He still remembered how her fingers smudged the edges of every page. They stayed in that cabin for 3 days while the roads were closed. 3 days of simple meals, card games, long talks by firelight. She asked about his life, not as a CEO, but as a man. She never once mentioned the scandal. "I think the world's too quick to judge," she said once, looking at him through strands of damp hair. "Sometimes people just need a place to be safe again." He had laughed, bitterly. Safe isn't real. She didn't argue. She only smiled and handed him a blanket. That night, on the third night, they shared something unspoken. The storm outside had quieted, but something between them had surged instead. They kissed, tentatively at first, then completely. It was not wild or reckless. It was slow, hesitant, and strangely sacred. The next morning, Lucas had to leave. His assistant finally reached him with news. The scandal had cooled, and his presence was required in New York. Sierra helped him pack his things into a borrowed jeep. She stood at the doorway of the cabin, arms crossed against the wind. "If one day you see me again," she said softly, "and I need help, promise me something." He turned, caught off guard. "What?" "Promise you won't turn away. Promise you'll protect me." He had laughed again, but this time it was different, warmer. He reached for her hand. "I promise." He had meant it. But he never saw her again. He tried. He called the internship office, no record. Emailed the ranger station, nothing. It was as if she had vanished. Maybe she had given him a fake name. Maybe she never meant for him to find her. But now, in the quiet stillness of Hazel Hill, with the rain tapping gently on the window, Lucas held the truth in his arms. Ivy. That hair, that dimple, the way her eyes flicked upward when she heard his voice. Sierra had not vanished. She had simply been surviving, and he had broken his promise. He stood suddenly, the note clenched in his hand. The fire flickered behind him, but Lucas did not feel the warmth. He had failed her once. He would not do it again. The results came in quietly, via a secure email, no fanfare, no dramatic envelope. Lucas stared at the words for a long time. Probability of paternity, 99.99%. He let out a slow breath, pressing his fingers to his temple. There was no denying it anymore. Ivy was his daughter, and Sierra had never lied. Lucas closed the laptop, stood in the middle of his office, and just stood there, still, breathless, overwhelmed. A child. His child. He walked upstairs to the nursery room they'd hastily arranged. Ivy was napping in the crib, a soft snore escaping her parted lips, a curl of golden hair stuck to her cheek. Her stuffed bear lay tucked under one arm, that same scent again, lavender. Sierra's scent. Lucas sat down beside the crib, staring at her. She looked so much like Sierra, her lashes, her hair, even the slight turn of her nose. He hadn't prepared for this. He didn't know how to be a father, but he was determined to try. That night, Lucas opened YouTube for the first time in months, searching how to change a diaper, how to put a baby to sleep, how to stop baby from crying. His browser history looked more like a first-time dad's than a high-powered CEO's. The next morning, Ivy refused to eat the oatmeal the nanny had prepared. Lucas, tired and rumpled, appeared in the kitchen wearing sweats, something no employee had seen him in before. He placed a banana, a piece of toast, and a tiny cookie cutter shaped like a star on the table. "I Googled toddler breakfasts," he mumbled. He cut the toast into stars and placed them gently on Ivy's plate. She giggled. She actually giggled. Even the nanny smiled. Lucas found himself doing things he never imagined, stacking blocks, crawling on the floor, reciting lines from Goodnight Moon like it was a boardroom presentation. He ordered a plush stuffed bunny from a boutique in Paris. Its fabric was lavender-infused, a detail no one else would have noticed, but Sierra always wore lavender perfume. One evening, after Ivy had gone to sleep, Lucas sat by the crib with a stack of origami paper he found in the art cabinet. He folded quietly, awkwardly at first, until a small paper crane took shape. He placed it next to Ivy's pillow. The next night, he folded 2 more. By the end of the week, there were 7 cranes, a whole flock, lined along her windowsill. One morning, his assistant, Callie, entered the kitchen to find Lucas crouched by Ivy's high chair, holding a spoon shaped like a giraffe. "She won't eat unless the giraffe feeds her," he explained solemnly. Callie blinked. "Sir, you're wearing a bib." Lucas looked down and realized Ivy had insisted on putting a bib on him too. He shrugged. Ivy's orders. The woman who once called him stone-faced Hale now stood there, stunned, watching the most feared man in real estate cut fruit into smiley faces. That night, after tucking Ivy into bed, Lucas stood beside her crib. She stirred slightly, her tiny hand brushing the edge of his shirt. He bent down, brushing a kiss to her forehead, voice barely a whisper. "I do not know how to be a father, but I'm going to learn. I have to, because I already broke a promise once, and I will never do it again." The rain came down in sheets that night, drumming steadily on the slate roof of Hazel Hill. Lucas sat in his study, the fireplace casting flickers of amber light against the walls. Ivy was already asleep upstairs, a lavender-scented bunny tucked under her arm, origami cranes lining her windowsill like silent guardians. He sipped his scotch, letting the silence settle. For once, the storm outside felt far away, until a knock echoed from the front gate. It came again, insistent, unrelenting. Then the intercom buzzed. "Sir," the guard's voice crackled, "there's a woman at the gate. She's soaking wet, refuses to leave." Lucas stood abruptly. His heart thudded. He barely remembered grabbing his coat. When he reached the foyer, the butler was already holding the door open, umbrella in hand. Lucas stepped into the night without it. There, at the wrought iron gates, stood a figure huddled beneath a threadbare coat, soaked to the skin. Her hair clung to her face in wet strands, her arms wrapped tightly around herself. She looked up when he approached, and Lucas froze. Sierra. Her face was pale, lips trembling from cold and something else, something deeper, guilt, exhaustion, hope. Her voice broke as she spoke. "Ivy, is she okay?" Lucas didn't answer right away. He was too busy grappling with the storm inside him. She was here. After all this time, after dropping their daughter at his door and vanishing like a ghost. He wanted to yell, to demand answers, to say how could you, but instead, he stepped aside, his voice low. "Come inside." Inside the grand hallway, warmth seeped into her bones. but Sierra still trembled. Lucas took her coat. It was soaked through, the seams coming undone. She clutched her hands together, looking smaller than he remembered, fragile, worn. "I didn't come to take her," she said quietly. "I just needed to know if she was safe." Lucas studied her. There were new lines on her face. Her eyes were still the same, pale blue, but they held shadows. "Why now?" he asked, finally. "Why after all this time?" She hesitated. Flashback. 2 years ago. A tiny apartment with peeling paint. Sierra sitting by a cracked window, cradling a newborn Ivy. A half-empty bottle of formula on the counter. Unopened bills piled beside it. Her phone screen lit up. Her last desperate email to Mrs. Evelyn Hale, Lucas's mother. "I know I'm nothing. I just need help. For her, not me." Days passed. The letter came back. Returned to sender. No note. No explanation. Just rejection. Back to the present. "I tried," Sierra said, voice tight. "I tried to find help. I even reached out to your family, but..." She didn't finish. "I worked every job I could, handing out flyers, cleaning motel rooms. I used every dollar I had for formula, for diapers. But it wasn't enough. I was going to lose her. I couldn't feed her anymore." Tears welled in her eyes. "And then I remembered what you said, in that cabin. That if I ever needed you..." "I promised," Lucas interrupted, his voice hoarse. Sierra looked down. "I thought it was just something you said in the moment. A beautiful memory, not a promise meant to last." He stared at her. His fists clenched at his sides. "Do you really think I would have walked away from my daughter?" he asked, voice rising. Her eyes flicked up. "No," she whispered. "I just didn't know if you'd remember me, if I even mattered enough to ask." There it was. Not abandonment. Not manipulation. Just fear. The kind born from years of carrying everything alone. Lucas's anger deflated. All that was left was something heavier. Regret. He walked to the doorway and looked up the stairs where Ivy slept. Then back to Sierra. "You should see her room." Sierra swallowed. "I don't want to confuse her. She already knows your lullaby." Sierra's breath hitched. Lucas took a step closer. "I thought you disappeared because you didn't care," he said softly. "Now I know it was because you cared too much." Sierra stayed. Not because it was easy, and not because everything had been forgiven, but because Lucas asked her to, in the quiet way he always asked for things that mattered, without force, without pride. Just truth. She took the guest room down the hall from Ivy's. Her footsteps were light, her voice softer still. There were no grand apologies, no tearful explanations, only actions, small, quiet ones. Lucas noticed them all. The way she folded Ivy's blanket each morning and fluffed the stuffed bunny beside her pillow. The way she placed a bowl